Hi, this is Bill Cullen with another edition of Cullen's Adventures. We're inviting you to join us today for an adventure into the lore of a most practical, yet oft-sung, storied bit of steel and cement. Our program is presented by this station as a special service and is furnished by the publishers of the Book of Knowledge, foremost children's encyclopedia for more than 50 years. Topic for today, bridges. When you think of San Francisco, what's the first thing that comes to mind? The Golden Gate Bridge, probably. Then there's the bridge on the River Kwai, the renowned bridge at Avignon, and El Greco even saw fit to show to the world the bridge at Toledo. There are a multitude of stories and songs in which some bridge or another is figured prominently. These footpaths in the air seem to have something exceedingly fascinating about them. Things didn't start out so glamorously for the bridge, though. It began, I suppose, merely as a practicality. People needed to cross rivers and such, and everyone didn't have a boat. So a construction spanning the river seemed like the best solution at the time, and still is. Who were the great bridge builders of antiquity? The Romans, who built their great bridges to link Rome to their many possessions. Some of these structures still stand and contribute much to the romanticism of bridges in general. Among the most striking are the huge aqueducts they built to supply large population centers with water. Well, after the Romans had their day, bridge building slowed down, and it wasn't until several centuries later that this form of construction was revived. One of the most famous bridges to be built during this revival of interest period was the first stone crossing over the River Thames, the famous London Bridge. This was in the early years of the 13th century. It had a covered gallery of wood and was lined, as many of the older European bridges were, with shops, making a sort of a main street in addition to providing a way across the river for the latest model horse and buggy. Although the shopping area of the bridge burned and was rebuilt many times, the bridge itself was used until the early part of the 1800s, which says a lot for the early day bridge builders. In fact, if you prefer old wooden models to the more modern iron and steel bridges, Europe has a score of them. One of the greatest of tourist attractions is the Ponte Vecchio in Italy. This one was built in 1177, rebuilt in 1362, and it, with shops, is still standing. Today's bridges are not quite so quaint, but they have the strength necessary to carry the heavier traffic of modern times. Wood and stone have been replaced in the building by steel and concrete with steel rods embedded in it. Some of America's bridges span tremendous areas. Undoubtedly the most famous of all the early American steel bridges is the Brooklyn Bridge, opened in 1883. If you still prefer quaintness in your bridges to great feats in engineering and mechanics, you might try strolling over one of early America's pretty covered wooden bridges. Oh, and here's a question. Why do soldiers break step while crossing a bridge? Because the constant and regular shaking of the bridge by the impact of feet and swinging of bodies would set up tremendous vibrations, causing the bridge to swing more and more. This strain on certain parts of the bridge could cause it to break down. The strength of the bridge and the army crossing it, but it's just a word of caution. Don't march the scouts across the bridge in cadence. Well, with this last item, we'll call a halt, too. Back again tomorrow with another edition of Cullen's Adventures. One, together a booklet containing an assortment of facts and figures very similar to those you've heard on the show. If you'd like to receive a copy to pass on to the youngsters of the house, let us hear from you. There's no charge for it. All we need is your name and address on a postcard. Mail it to Cullen's Adventures, Box 340, New York City, and the booklet is yours. I'll be back again tomorrow with another of these adventure series furnished by Jennings Incorporated, publishers of the Book of Knowledge. Till goodbye.